it makes me wonder now. It's like if he hadn't chosen to be honest and had a moment of bravery and integrity when he told me, like, how long would that have kept going? So we were married 6 months when my husband told me that he had been looking at porn again. 6 months, it's not very long. It was a little shocking, to say the least. I remember walking out of church, and he had this moment where he decided to be honest and tell me. I had no idea. It's not like I had found a stash of magazines or had been checking his browsing history or any of those things. I was completely blindsided and shocked. It makes me wonder now. It's like if he hadn't chosen to be honest and had a moment of bravery and integrity when he told me, like, how long would that have kept going? It has been hard to walk the road that we have walked. I am so thankful the fact that he was honest with me, and he chose to be open instead of choosing to hide everything. So, but yeah, 6 months, not very long, and I was devastated. I was very, very upset. Luckily we drove separately to church that night, and we had about a 30-minute drive home. So that kind of gave me 30 minutes to cry and cry and cry. I know that probably sounds like really dramatic, but I was very upset. And I mean, he knew I was upset. Going into our marriage, I knew that he used to have a problem with porn, but that was the thing. I thought it was like I used to have a problem, not I currently have a problem. And like he said in his video, I figured if there were any lingering problems, that being married, that it would just kind of fix it. It wouldn't be an issue. But that's the problem with porn. Once it gets in your head, I hear it's very, very hard to get out of your head. And it's not like it's just, something that you look at one time or look at 30 times and you can just walk away. For him, this was year after year after year. It had been going on for a long time. So by the time that we got married and he thought that he could just put it behind him, he couldn't. So he looked, and I got hurt. And that conversation started really, like I said, a long road for us. And it's been hard at times, but it has also been one that I feel like has given us a very uncommon marriage. Not because, struggling with porn is uncommon, because unfortunately the majority of men in America have a problem with porn, but uncommon in the fact that I feel like we have such a great communication level now, and we have an openness and an honesty that I don't know if we would have had otherwise. And so maybe you are a wife watching this, and you had a recent revelation from your husband of the same nature of like, oh my goodness, he's looking at porn. What do I do now? I just want to share a couple of quick things that I have learned. Like a lot of these I have learned the hard way, meaning that I did it really, really wrong, and I hurt him and how I responded to him. And while yes, both of our actions have been hurtful, obviously we always strive to treat each other with respect and love. And I would never, even though it's easy to think, oh, I am the victim, he is the perpetrator, or whatever, he is the one who hurt me. It's easy to get in that victim mindset. That's not what this is about. It's not about I am the victim and he is the person who hurt me. This is you gotta fight for your marriage. This is not you versus him. This is you and him against porn. That's what this is. And that is a perspective you have to keep. If you get into this mindset where it's like, he hurt me, then you're going to view everything through that mindset. You're going to view everything through that lens of me against him, and that's not what a marriage is supposed to be. You are united together. And so I think that is probably my first piece of advice is don't look at this as me against him, because that's not how it's meant to be. It's you and him fighting against porn, in this case, particularly pornography. And I feel like that has really helped, because it makes me remember that my husband is not the enemy, and he has never been the enemy. And even though his actions were wrong, and even though his actions were hurtful, that does not mean that he's the bad guy in all of this. So I think that's the first thing is remember that he's not the enemy. Your husband is not the enemy. what he did was wrong, and I completely validate that. And you are probably hurting, because I know I have had a lot of those same hurts over the years. There are times where you have to, I'm not saying like shove your hurt down, because that's not healthy at all, but you have to have forgiveness even in the midst of all of that. And that was something, the first night that Johnnie told me that he'd been looking at porn again, we had 30-minute drive home. Like, so I'm crying like from the depths of me. We get home and I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't know what to say. I mean, I was, like I said, completely blindsided. But I really felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me that you need to forgive him, and you need to forgive him now. I mean, it was just like, forgive him now. Don't wait. Don't go to sleep. Don't mull over it for a couple of days. Forgive him, and forgive him now. And that's what I did. And the moment that I did, like, I still remember, I think I was actually laying in bed. I still remember just that feeling that I had when I'm like, no, I'm going to forgive him. Obviously, if you were to let those things linger, it becomes harder and harder. But every single time he has come to me, because there have been relapses. There have been many, many, many relapses over the years. Every single time it was forgive him, forgive him. And I told him that. He would say, I'm sorry, I've been looking. And I would say, well, listen, yes, what you do is wrong, but I always forgive you. I will always forgive you, because forgiveness is key. If you don't forgive, then you're going to be going back to that same mindset of me versus him, he's the bad guy. And that's not, like I said, that's not what it's about. And so every single time I chose to forgive, and I would let him know that I was forgiving him. And that doesn't make the hurt go away. That doesn't make the pain go away. That doesn't mean, hey, everything's great again. That doesn't make any of those things go away. But when you choose to forgive, you're like saying, hey, I'm not holding this against you. That doesn't mean that you don't be cautious about certain things. It's not like you throw that caution to the wind and say, here's the internet with no filters. Here's a magazine. Go take a look. It doesn't mean you do any of those things. But it just says, listen, I'm not going to hold this against you. I'm not going to bring this up in later arguments as like a one-up card, to try to win an argument or anything like that. It's just simply, I forgive you. I'm not holding it against you. In the Bible, it talks about forgiving somebody 70 times 7. So forgiving and forgiving and forgiving, even when you don't really want to, even when it might feel really good to be like, no, I just want to stay hurt. I want to hang on to this because it gives me a sense of control. And that's what it is. It's like you want to hold it onto it because it lets you control the situation. Because right now, it feels like you can't control your husband. You want to be able to be like, no, I can, you can't do that. Don't look at this. Don't look at that. But when you think about not forgiving, it's like, hey, I can control that. But that's not a good thing. Because this isn't a control fight. This isn't any type of a fight. The only type of fight this really is to save your marriage and to really save your family from further heartache. So those really are the first two things that I really wanted to mention, is just have that forgiveness and remember that your husband isn't the enemy. There are a lot of things that I can say about this topic because over the years I have learned a lot. And one of those things I've learned a lot about is communication. And Johnnie has so graciously answered so many questions that I've had over the years about just picking his brain, like why this? What about me? Do you think it would hurt me? Is there something wrong with the way I look? You can just go through all those questions, and some of those I'd already answered those in my mind, but I wanted to hear what he had to say. And so those conversations were just really enlightening because it helped me understand a lot more about his side of the struggle. And I think that's something that women that we don't understand, we have no idea what they're going through. Now that does not give them an easy out or anything like that. But hearing Johnnie talk about his side of the porn struggle completely opened my eyes to a world that I didn't understand. And it made forgiving him a lot easier because it's like, oh, okay, it's not like you're just waking up every morning thinking, gee, how can I hurt my wife today? I didn't think he was doing that anyway. It made me understand a little bit more what he was going through, and it just kind of renewed my sense of like, no, we're in this together. This is about trying to rid our marriage of porn and making sure that this is, gets pushed out of his mind as far as it can go. And so that helped a lot. So there'll probably be more videos about all of this in the future. Like I said, there's been a lot of things I've learned and a lot of chances to write down a lot of the things that I've learned. And so it's like one of those things, well, I hate to have to talk about it, I hope that some of the things that we discuss can help women who have gone through this, because I had no help. There was nobody around me who could really give me any advice. They're just like, oh, I'm sorry. This was not something that Johnnie wanted to be a part of his life. He did not want to have issues with porn. And so he would be open and honest with different people at church, trying to get some more accountability with this. And I remember, it's like the guys would gravitate toward him and like pray for him and talk about accountability. And I would sometimes just get like awkward looks from the wife, like, oh, we don't know what to do with you. They weren't being rude, but they didn't know how to help. And because of our experiences, I feel like I do know how to help now. I know some of those emotions. I know some of the thoughts, the concerns, the worries, the fears. I experienced most of them and talked to Johnnie about probably all of them. And so yeah, hopefully these can be a help. But just remember, your husband's not your enemy in most cases. No, you know how it is. It's like there's always extremes, but and 9 times out of 10, your husband's not your enemy. You have to make the choice to forgive him, and then I think once you forgive him, and you guys start talking about things and effectively communicating about things, then you can start seeing things change. And it may not happen overnight. For us, it has not happened overnight. It's been over the process of years. But things begin to change, and we're in a much different place than we are now. So hopefully that these videos can help, and maybe before you know it, you'll kind of be in the position that we are in, where you can look back and say, okay, he's not addicted to porn anymore. It is something that he has overcome, and our marriage is stronger for it. That's all I got for today. Bye.